Okay. Got it. Okay.
Thank you. Hmm?
Okay, got it. So, the one major change is we will be unplugging the RAN SIM from the ONF RAN SIM and then plugging in a VRV simulator, and then replace the RAP from Ramido with the Intel ones. So that's a change here we need to accomplish. And with that, I think maybe we can probably, since the VRV team is here, maybe we can start discussing that from the requirement point of view. So maybe Baruch or Sushri could comment on this one. So how we can support integration by Tieto? Any words? Any starting point at this time?
Sorry, Sarah, to interrupt. The use case for this second phase, is that with the Massive MIMO, or is it still cell on off?
Yeah, so good question. The cell on off with same thing with the traffic steering. So yeah, so cell on off, but this particular RAP is from Intel is trained on actual, I mean, it's an AI/ML based model. It is trained on actual operated data. So, from one of the major requirements from NTIA is that the demo should be as realistic as possible. So that's what we are getting as close to reality as possible because we don't have a live network to experiment. So to answer your question, it's still cell on off with traffic steering with these changes.
But the logic in the RAP is a more advanced and for phase one then.
Correct. So the Intel team will present what are the advancements they have. And we had a separate discussion before we started off between Intel and Ramido and ONF. So there seems to be a lot of complementary and synergy. So I think from that point of view, it's fine. But of course, the devil is in the detail. What are the modifications that we need to make sure that these applications work in hand? That's something that we need to work out. We need to have Intel's present the details about it. So we'll start next week onwards.
Does the Intel RAP make use of more network data than the Ramido version, or what?
Yeah, fundamentally it does sell on off, but it's based on an AI/ML model. The couple of models were trained from telecom Italia data. So the claim is that it's pretty close to reality.
Is the data delivered by the simulator, or is it some offline data?
Excuse me?
So the way Intel did the development is they used like 7/8 of the data log that they got from Telecom Italia to train the model offline.
Okay.
And then 1/8 of the data they pumped in through a simulator from the bottom up to then be able to kind of react to it and and do some analysis of how accurate their predictions were for for optimizing the network. So so Intel has this trained model, and I think there are in my mind two questions. One is first how to we need to physically connect the Viavi simulator with E2 and O1 interfaces and get that working. But then the second question in my mind is what network will the Viavi simulator be simulating, and is there a way to align that with this 1/8 of the data from Telecom Italia, or maybe that's unnecessary? That's an open question in my mind.
In my mind, it sounds like we need to simulate something that are in one way or another aligned with the trained data. How would it work otherwise?
Well, that depends upon how you train the model, how generalized the model is. That's something that Intel can answer. So what we could do is that, we can share the data with VRV. I'm pretty sure that Baruch, please keep me honest here. It's a telecom Italia data which is in public domain. So I think the model, if it is trained properly, I think it should be able to 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 work with. Of course, we need some fine tuning needed, but that's something that we need to coordinate between VIVs, the data, I mean simulation and the synthetic data versus how the model is, how much buffering. I mean, let's say how much resilience the model has to anomalies or deviation from what it was trained. So
Okay.
that's something that we need to experiment.
So guys, let me say like that. So first of all, thanks, Art. It's pleased to meet you all. I think that, you know, the purpose of our run scenario generator rig test is basically to emulate any network environment for any different run scenarios and any different apps, right? And the purpose of the app is eventually to be able to handle any network, because if you develop app that is only good for specific network, you obviously it's not really useful, right? The moment you move to another area in another network or even in the same network, it will not function properly. So I think yeah, sorry, there was a comment.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So what I mean to say is that the first phase that Intel did with the app, with training them with the real network data for team is really good. But I don't think this is the only thing, or this is enough, right? So I would expect that the second step would be to enrich this training with the data from the simulator and with several different scenarios that we can propose, right? One of the scenarios could be very similar to the scenario of the team, plus that could be additional scenarios maybe that we are interested or not. It depends on the scope and the time and resources that we want to dedicate to this exercise, right? So I would say we are flexible in a way, but this is also depends on the Intel, what exactly they do they want to narrow the use case to whatever they did with Team? Do they want to expand it a little bit with more wider scenario, or maybe they want to do it in phased approach as well? So this is one thing, is that ideally we can retrain the app with the data set that we generate with our run scenario generator, so it will be also adapted to the scenarios that are coming from the simulator itself. And then, of course, we can also look to adapt, you know, the scenario to the specific scenario that was done in Intel, sorry, in Team as well. Okay, so we can start with this scenario and then see if we want to expand it to another scenario, a little bit more complex scenario, so on, or larger scale. So this is one thing. So one thing is training, which is a valid point. The other thing that I think someone already raised is the integration of the interfaces themselves. That would be also a quite complex exercise, because since E2, we are talking about the OSC rig here, right? That I understand, Sarat?
Yes.
So
No,
that's
the
what.
E2 is the SD-WAN, the ONF rig here.
Ah,
That's all.
okay. E2 is SD-RAN. Okay, so that's also different because we never integrated with the. So I don't know how much there is there. Is it fully ORAN compliant, or is it partially
Yes,
ORAN?
fully.
Okay. Okay. But anyway, integrating, since we didn't integrate with it, we just integrated with the OC rig. So that could be also exercise that will take some time and resources. And of course, O1 is also, O1 is the least standardized interface. So it is also going to be exercise to adapt from both sides to integrate the O1. So this is will be one thing. The A1, it is not related to VIAVI, but I guess it's also will be to adapt the interface between the two rigs. I don't know if it was done before, but it also will be, I think so. The interface integration I think it's gonna be quite complex, but it's of course possible. Depends how much do we want to do standard aligned, how much do we want to do something proprietary. That's also a question. So this is the second thing, and the third thing, the way that I see it, it will be eventually to evaluate how both apps are working in harmony together and achieving the goals that they are designed for, especially working together and not conflicting, right? So this will be the final thing to see how the energy saving app is saving the energy without compromising or with minimum compromise on quality of service, and then how the traffic steering app is actually improving the distribution of users and improving the user throughput and spectral efficiency without conflicting and wasting too much energy that is the other app is trying to minimize, right? So that would be the third question that we need to validate, and for that we have our app validation engine in rig test that helps to monitor all this. So that's the way that I would see. I don't know if it makes sense to you, or how do you see it?
It does. I mean, does. I mean, so all three aspects are the one we need to cover. So to begin with, one suggestion here is, Baruch, is it possible to give a demonstration of how the VIV simulator works? Because people, I don't think many people haven't seen that one. So that will give a feel of what we are kind of, what's the capabilities are. Then we can open the hood and then see all the how we can accomplish the three tasks. So having said that, one thing is that the A1 interface is working because there are not going to be any change of that. So that's okay from the Fuse demo, the theater, and previously we have done that.
Okay.
For the non-RT rig and the SMO are from ORAN software community, the OSC. And the O1 is also, we originally adapted from its own simulator through the ON app, and then it's became a part of that. So that, at least on the SMO non-RT rig side, it's good. So we need to look at the other end, which is connecting to VIV. So there are some work is already done, which we can capitalize on for your interface issues. And for training model, I totally agree with you. We could kind of simulate a network which is very close to the Telecom Italia and then see how it is done. And I think we should try something interesting so that, it will be of representing the real world, not only customized for a network like Telecom Italia. If we can get as generalized as possible, that would be great. So
I have a question, Baruch. Sorry, SMaRT. I thought you were ready. Continue, please.
hello?
Yeah, sorry I interrupt you. I thought you were ready. Please continue.
Yeah, okay. So is for the next meeting with Intel also would be there, Baruch would be able, somebody can show a demo of the simulator and see, and some recommendation on how a realistic network that you can, because you've done it many times in many contexts. So something which is, a simple to complex network with some recommendation, that would be a good starting point in my opinion, if others agree.
Yeah, I think it's no problem. Yeah, it's possible to organize some demo. Again, the tool is quite comprehensive tool, so it has a lot of different features and capabilities. I would say not everything you need for this project, and for sure, but yeah, I mean, if you want to see the main capabilities and the main things, I think this is something that's possible to show.
Because that will be the main driver for what we can show, how the model can be trained, and it'll be useful for others from the top, for the app developers, and in general, what we can demonstrate, and also from the integration point of view. I think it's a good starting point, Baruch, in my opinion. If we could do that, we'll slate that for agenda.
So Baruch, I don't know the extent to which you understand that, this is a phase 2. So there's a phase 1 demo that's up and running right now. that looks exactly like this diagram. It has all of these pieces, except, let's see if I can, so it's not using the Viavi simulator. It's using sort of open source components that are quite simple. That the combination of the components do speak E2 and O1, and for the R app, it's using an R app from Ramedo right now that it doesn't have quite the extent of the ML learning model on the back end, and it's modeling just 2 cell sites. And it's doing, it's monitoring the load on the 2 sites, and when the load goes down, it proactively moves the traffic off and shuts down one of the cells. And when the remaining cell load goes up, it turns back on the second cell and rebalances the traffic again. So all of that exists now. So one path forward here, it's possible that we could right away get started on trying to integrate in the Viavi simulator, simulating the same very simple network to start, and even just using the Ramedo XApp until Intel's able to bring in their XApp. So and we do have the Tieto team is kind of on standby, available right now, and they're not sure how long they'll be available. If another project comes up, they may get pulled away. So it would be great to get started as quickly as we could as well.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, understood where we are. So, but what is the purpose of this eventually to be ready for when, or what are we targeting exactly?
So that's what I mentioned. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that there's the RIC forum demonstration that is in March, and there's MWC in February next year. Those are our primary targets right now. There's also an
MWC is sooner than the demo, right?
By a month. Yeah, right. I'm talking about MWC Barcelona.
Okay.
We're talking about the same thing, so. Yeah, but our goal is to get started as quickly as possible, and then be able to grow and extend this and make it as comprehensive and as strong as possible.
And Baruch, you got a copy of the proposal we're putting together for RIC Forum, right? I think I forwarded that to you.
I think I saw, yeah, SMaRT. I saw this proposal, but again, it depends, to which kind of. So I think is like high level is okay, but exactly which level of integration do we want, and what exactly are the what exactly is the purpose? What do we want to show? So let's say we integrated the E2 and O1 interface, and then what would be the desired results? Like, for example, just showing that the app is doing something and sending some commands. So do we want to show that it's actually working without conflicts? Do we want to show that it's actually doing something good? Or we just want to show the integration that, yes, 2 apps are working, one on SMO, one on near real-time rig. The commands are going to the simulator and back, and the KPIs are flowing from the simulator towards the rig. Or, what is the ambition? I think this is something that we need to understand, because that would derive the complexity, right? Because, each of the things that we are talking here can be as simple or as complex as we define. And if we define like complexity that is quite high, then it depends how much resources and time do we have to dedicate for it, because February is not so far away. It's actually very close.
So my take on this one is, Baruch, there are a few fundamental things we need to show. One is cell on-off, like energy saving happening without any performance degradation with the help of this traffic steering. So as a sub result is that this app interoperability between those 2 apps and apps. And I show all these major entities in ORAN, like SMO, non-RT rig, near-RT rig, and all the interfaces are working. So there's 3 major things. So one is all the interfaces and entities are working in one demo, and showing traffic steering and energy saving applications working in one demo, and they are coordinated from 2 vendors. So vendor interoperability, application interoperability, and demonstration of all the interfaces working in an ORAN compliant architecture. That's the fundamental things that we want to show. So in terms of
This
how
is
we
very
want
ambitious, Sarat. I would say, you know, in this time frame, I mean, I'm being a little bit, but it's very, it is very good. I'm very happy. So definitely would be extremely interested. But you know, showing all like today, most of the things that we are working with customers, we are working with, you know, 20 plus customers commercially. We still struggling to show one application working in a desired way, and there are a lot of, you know, like implications both in the interfaces and here you're talking about all the interfaces with two different vendors with two different applications working without conflicts and achieving what. So that's basically means that you want to say that this is kind of ready to deploy in the network, because this is exactly how it should work in the network. But I think we are quite far from that. So the question is it really, I'm not saying not, I'm just, you know, playing the devil advocate here, is are we really think that we are mature from all the perspective to show this level of interworking in, let's say.
So this one, however small it is, so Timon mentioned, it's currently working in a smaller context with energy saving. You know, this app, the ES app and the traffic steering app, both from Ramido, and the setup is working, but it has a very small scale with the 2 cells. So the concept is there.
Exactly, yeah, which is totally different when you go to 3, 4, 100 cells, 200 UEs. You know, it's becoming extremely complex.
So we might not want to scale this one, because scaling, and having gone through this one, scaling has got a lot of complexity. So what works for a 2 cells might not work for 20 cells. It's a different nuance, different complexities arise. So
exactly.
we might not want to show a kind of a realistic network, but if we can show the concept in a kind of realistic set, I think that may be okay. Because scale itself is a major, as you said, is very close already to deployment. I mean, that's probably we should not be aiming in a short time. I totally agree with you. But even in a small scale, if you show this, just like what we're showing in a Fuse, take it to the next step. You replace the app. And
Okay,
then,
I see your point.
So then I think we can drive the point. I mean, the scaling is a different animal by itself. But with that, maybe be okay.
Yeah, so what you're saying, Sarat, is that the main purpose, the way that I understand for this exercise for the show, is basically to show that you can interwork with two different vendors, with two apps working together in harmony in ORAN ecosystem with near real-time and non-real-time RIC. With a reasonable use case, but you don't want now to stress the complexity and the complexity of the use case and to prove the high efficiency of the app. What you want to see is that this is possible to interwork to certain level of efficiency, but in a fairly simple scenario. That's would be the.
Let's shoot for that. If we get some time to improve this one, we can do it. Maybe this phase or next phase. You know, this is an ongoing journey. So, but I think let's be realistic in the near future.
Yeah. No, I think we're on the same page. Okay, yeah, I think when this is the definition, then this is something that is reasonable, of course. And yeah, and we should of course discuss what is exactly needed and what is required from Yavi. What can you provide with, you know, integrator and stuff like that. So that's another discussion. But I think that this is something that is reasonable.
Okay, very good. So let's start with a demonstration of what we can do, and then with this idea in mind, if you can suggest certain network scenarios, you know, how many few cells, how many clusters, something which we can do without making this case too complex in terms of scale. just to show principle, if we can give some pointers along that direction, and then what we can do is using that configuration, we can generate some data which is as close to the team data that you have, just to replicate that what they have done. Then, if everything is okay, we can. I know it will be kind of tuned to the team type of configuration, but if we can make it a little bit better, then let's do that. But at least get the status quo working. At least we have something in our hand, then we can improve. Is that okay, brother?
Yeah, I think that makes sense for me.
Yeah, so if we could do a demo next week, and Intel will be there also, so that's a good start. And then we'll take it from there.
Is there any way to make use, I'm just aware that the Tieto team is kind of available and idling now. Is there any way to make use of the next week to maybe become familiar, for the Tieto team to become familiar with the Viavi simulator? To start to install it in some way?
But if any idea on that one, and also some specifications on the interface, some documentations they can study, that also would be useful.
Yeah, I think Sachri, are we are okay with all this NDA stuff and everything? Is it in place?
Oh, yeah, we are. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so then I think we can share with you guys the our user guide and our user documentation. Actually, the release is going to happen tomorrow, so this is the new release. So I would like to share with you already like the updated documentation.
Oh, I think we need NDA with everyone, right? I think we only have with ONF, but we need with the integrators as well.
We need
okay.
Yeah, it's better to check how exactly. Sometimes we need just with one who is, I don't know, but it's better to check with legal what exactly we need here in this activity.
Yeah.
So hey, I'm from Tieto, responsible for VRM business. So there is no issue to sign on the NDA between us. So
Okay.
that would be pretty straightforward. We could provide you with our template, or if you have a template available, just please send it to us and we sign it.
Okay, will do.
Thanks.
And for the installation, I mean, well, we going to run this one. I mean, we need to put it into a place in cloud, or how any comments on that, Baruch, where we can run this?
Where is the lab is going to be physically? Do you have any?
No, we
location?
have a virtual lab for this one, for instance, running on cloud, and Alex Tangu is not there today. He's sort of, he'll be the point of contact. I can.
So which cloud is it?
AWS.
AWS. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can deploy on AWS. If you have AWS instances, then that's possible to deploy, and everything. Then both rigs and apps, everything on the same instance, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kind of easy.
I mean, our current solution, what we have for Fuse right now, we have everything on a single server running on Ubuntu, and everything is run as a Kubernetes deployment.
Okay. We basically are container based, so we are Docker based on Ubuntu as well. So
yeah, okay. So I guess for us the easiest way would be just to replace our ONF run simulator with the Viavi simulator if it's compatible on Ubuntu, Docker or Kubernetes.
yes, but yeah. So, but we need to see that we have enough large enough instance, right, to run the simulation, because I'm not sure which kind of resources did you dedicate to the ONF simulator, right? So maybe we will need more resources.
Yeah, just I wanted to mention that we are not running this on AWS or something. Our current solution is just running on a server with, I don't know, 96 cores and 500 megabytes of RAM, something like that, and running everything as
96 cores. Okay, yeah, that's very strong. Okay, but yeah, I mean, we can keep the same if you want. We can keep it on the server, or you want to move to AWS. Well, what is your preference?
Yeah, we can try both, I guess. I just mentioning because I heard AWS, and I was just afraid because we are not using this for Fuse. So maybe let's be prepared for both.
So let's start with something, right? Because it probably will be difficult to start with both in parallel because it's kind of will double work, right? Double installation, double things. So if you prefer, let's start then with server with the same deployment that you already have.
Yeah, okay.
And then from there we can, if you have idea at some point to move to AWS, it's also possible. But we probably need to define the priorities, right? Where do we start? So if you prefer to keep kind of exactly the same, just to replace the simulator, then I think it's better if we use the current setup.
I think so too, because we don't want to increase the work. So Alexander, if you can give the details, and then your Baruch's contacts, so if you could work it out, how we can be installed, that'll be great by the time we meet next week.
Yeah, so I think what we can do from our side, SMaRT, we can share with you all the documents based on the fact that we have all the NDAs. Once the sites will check, we'll share with you the installation guides and the user guides and the hardware recommendation, right?
Yeah.
And then basically based on that, your team that you mentioned, they can go ahead and install it and start maybe exercising with it and trying to to start seeing how the interface look like and what kind of capabilities they have, and then we can do the demo as well.
Very good.
From the project management perspective, I would like to comment that running such things on AWS may be rather expensive, and the related budget is needed to be identified and actually approved.
Yeah, understood. And my expectation is that ONF would be running the AWS instance, but starting on the local server, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
okay. So then, yeah, and yeah, I think Sashri also from we internally will need to discuss, what we need in terms of resourcing this kind of activity, or which kind of support do we need from Viavi, because that's also something we need to close from on our side.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's okay then yeah. So is it okay to then progress based on what we discussed, SMaRT?
Yes, I think so. I think we have a plan. I think either just get the basic things done, and then depending on the time, we can always improve it to various dimensions once we get some feel about the whole thing. But let's go with this minimum thing to be accomplished, and then with the goal that if we can make it even better, great. So I think it's a good idea. Let's proceed.
Okay, sounds good.
Very good. So we're on the top of the hour. So between now and we meet, we'll get all the documentation and the installation stuff addressed, and then next week, Baruch, if we can arrange Mr. Sri arrange a demo, that'll be great, and then we can move forward.
Okay.
Very good. So we'll see you next week, and then until then, we'll stay connected on these things offline.
Thank you.
A question before we complete this meeting. So I would like to identify the next steps for this team in terms of accesses or permissions or licenses to start with. As we discussed, we start with this new tool set. So whom I should contact regarding this point?
Sushri is the contact, right?
For licenses?
And just as a point of contact for this
Yeah.
for installation, or who is the point of contact?
Oh,
That-
to help with the installation, the guides, I mean, once we share the guides, you can let us know if that is sufficient. I mean, it's very comprehensive and detailed.
But you are the
Okay.
contact for that one, right? Just in case.
Yeah,
Sushri?
I cannot help with the technical questions, but yeah, I
Yeah,
can
but
point you in the right direction. Yes.
that's all you want. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for this clarification.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys. Bye. Cheers.
Thanks, bye.